So ladies and gentlemen, I have another surprise for all of you. So up to this point, I've showed you some of my audio equipment as far as home use is concerned. You know, stereo receivers, integrated amplifiers, headphones, Bluetooth devices, and all of that. But I don't know, 30 plus years ago when I was in college, for just about 6 months, I went to a Christian college and they had, and this is nothing wrong with the Christians, I'm not making anything like that, but they had a recording studio, believe it or not, and a fairly decent one in the basement of this building. And so I would sneak in there, and I got a lot of the 20-something people and 40, 50-year-old something people angry at me for doing that. But I would sneak in there and start using their recording equipment, recorded a few of my own songs and things like that. And they had a multi-track reel-to-reel, an Otari multi-track mixer, and then they had commercial-grade microphones, and the microphones were AKGs. I'm not going to get into it, but they're pressure gradient microphones, a little shorter than these, kind of short and thick, and that's really when I cut my teeth on multi-track recording. I taught myself, a lot about how all that works and did my own recordings, got people mad. But point is, when I got older, had more money, and was really just as selfish and just as much of a sonic sinner then as I am now, I started to put together my own studio. And I was looking around for some low-cost microphones because I didn't want to spend $1,000 on AKGs and Newmans, which they're still making. Actually, the Newmans look a lot like these, but most of these microphones are going to run you, for commercial grade use, $1,000 or more, some even $2,000. But I found these, and I got them on sale, I think, for $150 off of BSW. And I have absolutely nothing negative to say about these microphones. Marshall Electronics, that's the people who make these, set out to engineer the microphones where they needed to be engineered to produce sonic results that were really, for the most part, equal to the AKGs and the Newman commercial grade microphones. And they did just that. These actually fairly heavy microphones are pressure gradient microphones with a gold sputtered diaphragm. You can see that right there. That's what picks up the audio. That perform about as well as the human ear does. And what I mean is that the frequency response is just as wide. Effective frequency range of these, it's about 20 to 23, 24,000 hertz, plus or minus 1 to 2 dB. Yeah. And the dynamic range of these are close to 130 dB. So this is really close to about 24-bit as far as the sound pressure levels that these things will endure before they start to distort. This is certainly better than most CDs. Most CDs are 16-bit resolution. And that includes the dynamic range, obviously. But these are closer to 24-bit resolution as far as the dynamic range is concerned. I suppose if there's one negative thing to say, it's that these are too sensitive when you plug them in. But you can always deal with that by turning back the gain on the microphone. There's a little switch here. You can either leave it at standard gain or turn it back. Or if your lows are a little too boomy on these, you can move the switch all the way to the left, and then that'll bump it down. I think that the filter is around 60 or 70 hertz so that your bass isn't too boomy. But nothing bad to say. Again, these are pressure gradient microphones. You're actually singing into this gold sputtered diaphragm. It sits behind an electromagnetic cage that keeps a lot of the interference out of it. These are 3-micron gold sputtered diaphragms. Most microphones like this, even the more expensive ones, are maybe 4 or 6. Marshall settled on a thinner diaphragm because it gives better transit response, better sensitivity. It does make it more vulnerable to damage from blowing in it and things like that, but I think they felt it worth the risk, and I certainly do. Because these are pressure gradient mics, they don't produce their own electricity like dynamic mics, the kind of mics you would have on a stage. So because of that, these are amplified microphones, and the amplifier is about where my thumb is here, and it's a FET amplifier, field effect transistors, as opposed to just standard transistors, which give more of a warm tube-like audio to them. It's powered through your XLR connector with 48 volts. 48 volts phantom power juices these up. Most mixers have that just inherently, or if it's not there, there's a switch in the mixer, or you can get a 48 volt phantom power supply just to hook in line with your microphone cable that'll juice these up. But these are microphones that are made to work with professional, commercial grade, either digital or high resolution analog equipment. You know, if it's analog, you want to put this into a reel-to-reel that's running at 15 inches per second and, you know, probably multi-track recording, either 8 or 16, 24 track reel-to-reels. But that's what these are. They will record really anything with authority, whether it be the human voice, whether it be instruments, you know, violins, guitars, flutes, whole symphony orchestras, percussion, bass, well, not electric bass, but yeah, actually, you could put this up to the electric bass amplifier and it would record it just fine. Nothing bad to say about these. Again, yeah, maybe a little too sensitive, but that's always a good thing. It's always mics that aren't sensitive enough that cause the problems. Low noise, high sensitivity mic with a wide frequency response equal to the human ear, and it picks up audio a lot like the human ear. Once again, this is made for the source. So I guess, you know, Frank Sinatra, Lady Gaga, you know, Poker Face, these would be the kind of mics that they would use in the recording studio. But I think every bit the equal of the AKGs. And I've used both. And the Newmans. These are the Marshall Electronics MXL 2003s. I think you can still get them now. They're that good, so they're still making these suckers. They're still in demand. They are pretty heavy. I suppose you could use these as a weapon. So if somebody got angry in the recording studio, or you could probably keep this in the drawer beside your bed as a weapon. It might work just as good as a gun, either for throwing at people or hitting them. But then again, you'd probably be depressed because you'd end up, yeah, you'd stop the bad guy, but you might break the mic. So you don't want to do that. This is one of those things where the microphone, I think, would be the more important thing. Well, that's about all I have to say, folks. I have another site if you're interested. It's called A Father's Devotions, and feel free to check that out. I have a link for it here. This is Steve with My Audio Stuff. God bless you all.